this afternoon on NEA Report. I'm Stan Morris reporting in Jonesboro, and in Trumann, Arkansas, we're reporting this afternoon on an officer-involved shooting that has sent an officer to the hospital and that has apparently resulted in the death of a suspect. The information we have at this time, we're going to run through that right now as folks are joining our live stream on NEA Report. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We've got a lot of information to run through. First up on the left side of your screen, we're going to take that full screen here in just a second. I'm going to show you a map of where this all took place and where officers are still stationed out at the moment. Let's also run through the important details we have. This took place in Trumann, around the area of Casinger and Cash Lane, according to reports. You can see kind of the red marker up on the top of your screen to give you an exact location of where that was reportedly in the vicinity of, at least. That's not an exact map location of where it took place, although it could be accurate too. The information we have at the moment is that the Trumann Police Chief Chad Henson has been shot. Most of the wounds or the gunshots that were fired at him were absorbed by his bulletproof vest. The information that we've gotten, this all comes from dispatch sources. This was all radioed over public dispatch. We were picking up some of that at the time. We were also working with others to try to confirm some more information. But the police chief in Trumann was apparently meeting with someone, and the story goes that the man had possibly arranged the meeting. The suspect possibly had arranged the meeting with the Trumann police chief. The meeting was not what it was, I guess, represented to be, perhaps even possibly some type of intentional ambush, it seems like. We don't know that exactly yet, as Arkansas State Police are going to be working on this, and they're going to try to find more information. However, some type of shootout ensued, and the officer was wounded. At the same time, the reports that I've gotten from the dispatch is that the suspect was killed. I have a name for the suspect, but I'm not going to report that yet. However, I will tell you the name was radioed over dispatch, and I did a background check and found a criminal history on the man whose name was mentioned. And I also found that the address of the man that was mentioned as the suspect who was killed lives on Casinger Lane. Pretty sure that we have an exact match for who this is, and we know. However, I want to wait for authorities to release that name as the suspect, even in this sense of potentially heinous acts and deeds, does have next of kin that should still be notified. So I don't want to get ahead of authorities on that, but I know a lot of people are asking questions. They want to know more about what happened. The officer that we're hearing was wounded is a friend of NEA Report, someone we've interviewed here before, would be Police Chief Chad Henson. The police chief, we've been told, is actually potentially going to be released from the hospital pretty soon. Apparently he is not seriously wounded, but he was shot this morning, terrifying, and his bulletproof vest, we're told, absorbed most of the gunshots. So out of the gate, nothing else to be said except our deepest thoughts and hopes are with the officer. We hope the reports are accurate. At the same time, we wish we could find out that none of this happened. But we hope that the police chief is feeling better and recovering, you know, our thoughts are with you and all of Poinsett County. As a matter of fact, Poinsett County and Trumann has had some violent acts, crime-wise, over the past several months and year, and the police chief there, Chad Henson's taken an aggressive role in trying to stop crime in his community. And at one point in time, he was on NEA Report. I remember there was a suspect on there that was commenting, and the police chief got on his tail and told him, "We're coming after you, buddy." You know, pretty much didn't hide the fact that Trumann police were seeking out criminals and planning to go after them, and in any case that they could. At the moment, I just want to run through the details that we know. It's state police investigating an officer-involved shooting in Trumann, Arkansas. The coroner has been called to the scene, confirming there has been a death. Fortunately, we know that was not of a police officer. The suspect is reportedly dead, I'm told, from information I've gotten through dispatch traffic and also sources at the scene. The suspect reportedly started shooting at the police chief of Trumann, who came to meet with the suspect. We don't know the exact reason, possibly over the suspect offering some type of information on a drug ring or tips. It could have been an ambush. It could have literally been organized as an ambush. We don't know that, but the information that we're hearing about, where the police chief goes to someone's house and ends up being shot, it sounds sketchy. It sounds like an ambush. So I would urge caution to all officers out there. This is, the kind of stuff that officers have to be careful and cautious for. With that being the case, if that was indeed an intentional, that was the intention of it, or that was just the way it worked out, it didn't work out well for the suspect. He's dead. The officer is in stable condition. I'm actually being told he's going to be released relatively soon. The hopes are from the hospital, and that he's going to hopefully be back in full function with no downtime. Still yet, even if you're shot and the bulletproof vest absorbs it, it's got to be painful, and we don't know that. I think he was still shot once, at least, from what some of the information that we've received has indicated. So that would be the police chief of Trumann, Chad Henson. That's the report that has been passed along across social media and across also through some of my sources. Law enforcement sources I know have been trying to investigate and find out more information about this. I know there's some reporters that have been out there on the scene. At the crime scene, I was just speaking a moment ago with Northeast Arkansas News. They're out there, and we were going to see if we could take a live report from them. But the Memphis TV stations and also the Little Rock TV stations are converging today in Trumann, Arkansas. You're looking at the general area that they're going to be in. Let me zoom out a bit so you get an idea of where this is at in the vicinity of NEA, because down here is Trumann itself, and up here, just a little bit north of Trumann, is going to be the area where we're talking about, where this is reported to have taken place. Quick case to point out here is that this is all farmland completely surrounding a small residential area. Once we zoom in on it, you can see these are not expensive houses. Some of these are trailer homes. This is the reported area that this was said to have taken place in this morning. At the same time, we're trying to find out more information from authorities, and we're hopeful that we can. We hope that we can find out a good update, official update here at some point in time, in just a little bit, from authorities on the wounded officer. The fortunate news this afternoon is that the officer appears to be okay and appears to be in stable condition. It's still a terrifying situation to imagine somebody opening fire on a police officer after potentially inviting them to the location. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that worries officers and makes officers paranoid and fearful, and understandably so. And that's what we're reporting on, of course, this afternoon. It's 1 minute until 2 o'clock in Jonesboro and in Trumann, Arkansas, where the police chief has been wounded in an officer-involved shooting, according to the sources that we have here at NEA report as of this hour. The suspect is reportedly dead. The coroner has been called to the scene, which would seem to confirm that death, as we know that the Trumann police chief was reportedly taken to the Med in Memphis, hospitalized, airlifted with, he was airlifted, I was told, for primarily precautionary concerns. However, he was listed in stable condition and may even be released soon from the Med. That's the hope. The current state on this case is that Arkansas State Police will be investigating it. I was even told at one point in time the FBI has been called onto this and responded to the area. Of course, wouldn't be surprised if some of the stuff that we've been talking about here is even close to accurate, that you would have federal investigators on this. The suspect in this case, I'm not ready to release the name. I do have the name of the suspect through different sources. It was radioed over dispatch traffic. I don't want to release it because authorities have potentially, well, first of all, authorities haven't released it yet, but also they may still have to contact next of kin. And even if the suspect committed the heinous deeds that we seem to believe he may have here in this, the next of kin still deserve to be notified by authorities. But that being the case, I did some research on the suspect in this, who is dead, according to reports that we have, and based on the information with the coroner's van arriving, plus based on the fact that if you open fire on an officer and the officer survives, you don't. So the officer's alleged attacker lived on Casinger Lane. Based on the information I've been able to do a reverse search on, he had a criminal history. Based on what I've been able to find, he may have even been involved in drug rings himself. Based on what I could find, he had a family that had been in jail, and people were even posting on topics asking if he was back in jail too. That seems to be the suspect in this case. The suspect that's had his life ended this morning. The police chief is Chad Henson. We've talked to Chad Henson on NEA Report before. Very friendly police officer, very helpful too. At the same time, just one of the coolest guys. I mean, just a average, everyday, human being. Nice guy. Hard to imagine of all the people that somebody would take issue with, that they would take issue with one of the nicer ones in the community. This is Chad Henson right there. I just want to show you his photo for those of you who don't perhaps recall exactly who that we're talking about. He's a police chief there in Trumann, Arkansas. Been very cool to NEA Report along the way. Given us live interviews before, sometimes at 1, 2 a.m. in the middle of the night whenever there was incidences going on. We appreciate that because it's not something that should go without mention and acclamation. I mean, that's an important part of the government, is to keep the public informed and thus the press informed. And when you meet an officer that does that and that takes that role very seriously, in my field, in journalism, we appreciate that, because we know not only is he focused on trying to keep people safe or stop crime, he's also trying to do what he can to live up to the First Amendment, and that's respectable, especially in these times. We're thinking about the Trumann police chief as this hour. We know the last report that we got was that he was in good shape, that he was possibly even going to be released. I want to do a quick update here and see if I could find any more information, excuse me, that may have been sent out while we've been here talking. I'm going through my phone live as we're talking on NEA Report, as this is a breaking news situation, and much of what I will be reporting here is going to be coming into me live at the moment. So this is not your typical show that we would do this afternoon. We're doing live breaking news coverage. I am telling you now, let's see, from one of my sources, a news station in Little Rock was texting me telling me Arkansas State Police had not been able to tell them anything other than that an officer-involved shooting and a criminal investigation unit was out there. So there's that. That's not much. Continuing to go through here as we're live with you on NEA Report. I think most of what I've been able to report so far is the latest, and perhaps even further out, more than anybody else has been able to. But I'm also trying to get you new information if I can here. I did see that Channel 8 had confirmed with the Blytheville police chief that it was Chad Henson that was injured in the officer-involved shooting. Okay, so Henson used to work at the Blytheville Police Department. That's how that they knew over there, right? Give you kind of a bit of a note there. So that's another source that would have also confirmed what we said. Not much other information I can see from Channel 8. Okay. So we know the Trumann police chief, from sources, has been wounded in an officer-involved shooting this afternoon. Our thoughts are with the Trumann police chief, and we hope that that the reports are correct, and that it was minor, and that he is on the mend, and that hopefully he'll be back, in duty and on the force in no time. We interviewed the Trumann police chief. It was last year. As a matter of fact, no, it wasn't last year. It was earlier this year. It was about 3 months ago when we were at the scene of a standoff at Walmart, the fatal standoff, as a matter of fact. For a small town like Trumann, that's a lot of stuff to have to deal with. Your police chief getting a shot, a standoff at the local Walmart, all in a couple of 3 months. Both incidences that had a fatality in them. It's tough to imagine. That's really a difficult situation. So the Trumann police chief, Chad Henson, we're definitely thinking of you this afternoon, thinking of all the law enforcement officers in Poinsett County and Trumann. It's very unnerving when one of, and I don't know this from experience, I just know this from observation, but that's got to be very unnerving when one of your own gets shot, potentially ambushed. Is some of the stuff that we've been hearing over dispatch is that the Trumann police chief was called to the scene, that they were hoping, the Trumann police chief had been told that he was going to be receiving some kind of tip or information, possibly on a drug ring, and my sources tell me that it was not that. It was a some type of potential ambush, I guess, which is very scary to think about. I'm showing you a photo or video there on the left. We had interviewed the Trumann police chief back in 3 months ago. I'm just giving you a video reference there while we're here talking this afternoon on NEA report. At this moment, we don't have official confirmation on the name of the suspect. I have been able to find a suspect's name. I do have the name of the suspect unofficially, and I have backtraced that to an address on Casinger Lane where this reportedly took place, and I've also pulled up a criminal history too. I just mention all of that because that I want folks to know that we do have an idea of who did this, and it was somebody with a criminal history based on what we've seen. We're going to wait for authorities to release that. Arkansas State Police are investigating this right now, and with a case like this, you don't want to get ahead of authorities if they're releasing information just simply because that they may have to notify next of kin. The suspect in this, the person who reportedly shot our friend Chad Henson, is dead. This moment right now, the coroner's van called to the scene, and the Trumann police chief's alleged attacker there, or suspected attacker, has been reportedly killed. The Trumann police chief was airlifted to the med. He's been listed, or at least reported, in stable condition, and is also reported to be perhaps near being able to get a release from the hospital. Good news, because think about it. If you get shot and get out of the hospital a few hours later, or ever, you're pretty lucky. The report is that his bulletproof vest absorbed much of the attack, or most of the attack. And, you know, it just is, it's a very upsetting situation for somebody that knows at least, you know, half of the people involved in this with the Trumann police chief, because he's a good guy. He's a really nice guy, nicest guy ever. I don't think we agree on everything. I don't agree with anybody on everything, and he's still super nice. And so to think about that, it's just a very, very sad sad incident to think not only did this happen, but it happened to somebody who's really a good person. I'm glad that he's going to be okay. Really glad. I sent messages along before I started my live stream to those closest to him, and sent my well wishes to them. I think it's appropriate to do that, especially when you know the people involved. This is a story this afternoon that is going to be reported on by Little Rock TV, by Memphis TV, and it may go further out than that. It's got potential to be a nationwide news story. And so I'm seeing Chris Sharp just messaged us on NEA Report and said, let me verify this, but he mentioned that the name of the suspect was released on Arkansas State Police's page. So I'm going to look at that bit right now, real fast, verify that, and then we'll be able to report more. Let me just check this out. Yep, see, 8 minutes ago. All right, good deal. So now I can report some more to you. Let's go ahead and go through that right now. I was telling you all a moment ago, I already had the suspect's name, and I had gone through and verified that, but I wanted to be certain about it before we released it. We do have that now certain. Trumann Police Chief has survived a shooting. The suspect shot and killed. Authorities in the Trumann Police Department are asking for Arkansas State Police to help. Chad Henson was contacted at about 10 a.m. by an individual identified as Johnny Kelly, 49, who resides near Trumann. According to initial statements, he was asked to come to Kelly's residence. So this is fitting with some of the stuff we've already been reporting. Once he was there, it says Chief of Police Chad Henson approached the door to the residence. Kelly fired at Henson with a gun. Chad Henson survived the shot, returned fire, killing Kelly. Kelly's body is being submitted to the Arkansas State Crime Lab for an autopsy to determine the cause of death. This is late breaking. This just come in from Arkansas State Police. Let me get this super out of the way. It's investigation, it says, being prepared by the state police will be submitted to the prosecuting attorney to determine if the use of deadly force by the chief was consistent with Arkansas law. Of course, based on what we know, it most definitely was. Let's see. So I don't think I'm going to be able to pull up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get a photo of the suspect for you. Okay? So hang on. Let's see if this works, or if I can make a horrible mistake on the air. So we know the name of the suspect has been released, Johnny Kelly, of Trumann. I've done a little bit of research this afternoon, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to get you a photo of the suspect now. This is a first look here on NEA Report. This photo coming from Facebook, and I believe I can pull that up right now. This is a photo of Mr. Kelly, according to Facebook. We pulled several photos of him a short time ago. This was the individual that reportedly lived on Casinger Lane, and according to Arkansas State Police, opened fire on the Trumann police chief the moment that the police chief walked to his door. The Trumann police chief returned fire, killed this man, and survived, and is now recovering in the hospital. So that's the latest information we have from Arkansas State Police. They've actually confirmed what we had been holding off on reporting there for a short time. I hope everybody understands why we waited on breaking that detail, as we're not in a race. You know, we want to be careful and make sure that this information gets out there in the correct time. Let me make sure I've got the suspect's name up on the screen. And this is the suspect in the case, the incident of the shooting of the Trumann Police Chief, Chad Henson. So we're just putting that up on the screen for those who may be scrolling and see this. Just checking one more time. I want to see if I've gotten any new information from some of my sources that have been texting me this morning. The suspect apparently called the police chief, as I was told, said he had info on a drug ring or something, and the chief pulled up, and the suspect shot him. And the suspect, whom we're looking at now, is gone. This was his Facebook photo that was on his profile a short time ago. We pulled some of those photos there so that we could pass that information along to you. State police confirming what we had told you. This was about 10 a.m. An individual identified as Johnny Kelly, 49, residing near Trumann, had invited the chief of police to his residence, but once he was there, Kelly started firing at Henson with a gun, according to police, based on what they know right now. Chad Henson survived and returned fire, killing Kelly. Gosh, that's awful. I was really hoping some of that stuff that we had reported earlier was wrong. I know that sounds weird, but to think that a friend of mine was ambushed this afternoon and somebody, or this morning, and somebody tried to kill him is very unnerving. This is why drugs are bad, folks. This is why opioids are bad, and, you know, it just changes people. And there's a lot of investigating to do to find out what the case, what the motives were, what the intent was. Criminal backgrounds for Kelly exist. As I mentioned before, he did live on Casinger Lane, and so, we're all still trying to make sense of this all here together this afternoon. The state police press release just a short time ago coming out, kind of confirming everything we had been hearing, that the reported suspect, Johnny Kelly, had shot the Trumann police chief, and the chief, Chad Henson, returned fire, killing Kelly. That's the report that we have as of this hour. I'm going to pull up the suspect's Facebook page, just because, in this instance, and I'm still using the term suspect. Obviously, there's never going to be a conviction of somebody that's passed away. That is just my approach to this. I hope you respect that. But this is the individual's Facebook page that I'm going to show you here just in a second. We're going to go through that and see if we see anything. This is Johnny Kelly, 49, residing near Trumann. The spelling's a little bit different, so that helps us to kind of confirm who that we're looking at. This is Mr. Kelly's page, personal profile, to be correct, right here. It says, I'm a Trumann Wildcat, Johnny Kelly. And so, some of the photos here of the man, this is the individual state police say was killed in the shooting. I don't have much information that we can really pull from what we're looking at right now. I always think it's weird to show photos of suspect with others. But this is reportedly the man who police say was involved in the shooting and was killed in the shooting. This is Johnny Kelly, lived near Trumann, and reportedly, based on what Arkansas State Police have told us, this is the man that opened fire on the Trumann police chief this morning sending the Trumann police chief to the hospital. Thankfully, the Trumann police chief is going to survive. The man we're looking at on the screen right now is Johnny Kelly. He did not survive. He was killed in the incident when the Trumann police chief was apparently ambushed on Casinger Lane, and some type of weird like tip-off or phony tip-off. I mean, this reeks of an ambush, folks. Just gonna tell you, and I'm telling all my law enforcement officer friends out there to be extra careful too right now, because the Trumann police chief was called to this guy's house, and came to his residence, and the guy started shooting at the Trumann police chief, Chad Henson. Henson returned fire. He had his vest on, thankfully, and the Trumann police chief ended the life of the suspect. Police Chief Henson taken to the Med in Memphis, where he is recovering. I'm told he's in stable condition. I don't have that officially confirmed, but I'm really hoping that that's going to prove to be correct, as much of our other information has been before we've been able to confirm it. Chad Henson, one of the nicest guys I've ever interviewed on NEA Report, not just as a police officer, but as anybody. He's one of the nicest people that you have ever encountered. And law enforcement is a field that's difficult sometimes to be nice to people in, because frankly, sometimes you encounter people that you have to be stern with. I mean, heck, if they're being ambushed, you can kind of see why that Trumann police or other police might have to be a little bit cautious. And even with that being the case, the Trumann chief is cool to us and always been cool to us. And, you know, it's just like you think to yourself you know, in a situation like this, it shouldn't happen to anybody. And then you think to yourself, it's got to happen to somebody. Why does it have to happen to the nicest guy I know? It's very, very much upsetting. You know, I don't know if any of you guys out there and gals in chat have had a chance to meet Chad Henson, but he's nice, man. I mean, he's legit one of the nicest officers that I've worked with. So, you know, as we're showing you, I want to show you footage here of him if I can. This was in an interview that we had filmed with Chad Henson back during the it was April 22nd that we were live after a standoff had concluded in Trumann with one dead and one in custody. It was already that was a terrifying situation as well. And Chad Henson, you know, in the middle of the night, he was willing to talk to us and help us out and find out more information. And we greatly appreciated that. The man on the left side of your screen, the suspect, the person, of course, on the right side of your screen is the police chief, Chad Henson. Thankfully, the police chief is still with us. The suspect on the left is not. We don't know the full details as Arkansas State Police continue to investigate this, but what we do know is that the officer on the right was shot, apparently, by the man on the left in what really reeks of an ambush, folks. It really, really reeks of an ambush. It's you know, police chief who you see on the right, he's literally that nice. He's nice. He just is, you know, very nice, soft-spoken guy, and apparently was called to the house of Johnny Kelly on Casinger Lane, where he was, once he arrived, you know, gunfire began, according to the report from Casinger. And that's when, you know, Henson was hit, according to Arkansas State Police. State Police say Henson returned fire, and that's when the suspect was killed. It's a tragic situation in Poinsett County, and it's really tragic considering they've gone through a lot in the past several months. In Trumann specifically, you have a police chief that is working so hard. I've seen him on NEA Report in arguments with criminal suspects, telling those suspects, you better get ready because we're coming after you. I mean, he's a police chief that cares and wants to change his community, but at the same time, nice as anybody you've ever met, if you ever go up to him and talk to him. It's a shame to think that somebody so nice had to go through this. And, you know, so our thoughts are with his loved ones, those next to him, and friends, and the members of the Trumann Police Department and all police agencies here in Northeast Arkansas, because this afternoon one of your own has been attacked, and we stand with him. We stand by our law enforcement. I know we are also willing to report when any government agency makes mistakes, but please make no mistake about it. Law enforcement has a very important role in our society, and we respect what they do here. And Chad Henson's one of the good guys. He really is, man. So to see him in this video we're showing you here from 3 months ago, when we had a chance to interview him during another tragedy in his community, this one not involving him, he showed us the kindness and candor that we've come to expect from him. At the same time, that kindness that he is known for across Poinsett County was not the trait that he was able to use today in his encounter with Mr. Johnny Kelly, who reportedly, according to state police, called Henson to his house on Casinger Lane and then began opening fire. Chad Henson returned fire, absorbed several gunshots in his bulletproof vest, perhaps was shot once outside of that. The suspect was killed, however. And so Chad Henson is recovering. We think that he's going to be released from the med today, we hope. That is our sincerest hope, both as a reporter, but as somebody that knows him and that considers him a friend. We hope that this incident is also investigated, and any questions that may have not been cleared up or found out too. It does reek of an ambush. Just putting that out there, and I'm not putting that out there as my not just my observation. It is my observation as somebody that studied criminal justice and covered it for years, but also I'm getting that from first responders and people that have been close to this too, that it seemed like an ambush. And I think I was even told, I'm going to verify this, but I was told that FBI had responded to, FBI from Marion responded to the scene to give you an idea of where this all, how this all happened and what transpired. Very serious case this afternoon. Our updates will continue as we find out more information. At the moment, right now, we don't expect to learn much more for at least a bit. We know the man on the left side of your screen, that's the individual that has died. He's his body's been sent to the state crime lab. I'll show you, if I may, I'm going to show you where all of this was taking place this afternoon. And so you can see the map on your screen. That's a little bit north of Trumann. We'll pull that up in full screen so you can see it a bit better. This was north of Trumann around Casinger Lane and Cash Road, where the entire incident was apparently unfolding this morning. And state police, along with the apparently at least one FBI agent and other agencies, all being involved in the investigation to some degree. The chief of police wounded in what appears to be an ambush attack. However, the police chief survived, and the suspect has been killed by the police chief. An investigation is going to take place into the use of deadly force. The chief recovers as of this hour from his injuries. He was in the med. We believe he may be released at some point, we've been told. And our deepest thoughts and condolences are with the police chief and the law enforcement community across Northeast Arkansas. We'll have more information about this on NEA Report as we learn it. This is a special report. I'm Stan Morris reporting on NEA Report.